The Duomo of Siena, dedicated to the Virgin Mary, represents the most significant monumental expression from the most fervently artistic and cultural era in Siena's history. According to tradition, this is the second church constructed in this location dedicated to Mary, the first one dating from around the 9th century and built in the same spot where a temple dedicated to Minerva once stood. A message inserted in the pavement of the cathedral, directly in front of the central portal, invites the visitor to enter into the temple, reminding them to adopt an appropriate behavior for the sacred place. Castissimum Virginis templum caste momento ingredi. Remember to enter chastely inside the very chaste temple of the Virgin. The inscription reiterates Siena's distinctive veneration for the Virgin, which the city turns to on every occasion. The cathedral contains numerous masterpieces from every era, but the most exceptional work, one of a kind, shining with divine beauty, is the pavement, the most beautiful, largest, and magnificent that was ever done, wrote Giorgio Vasari. The preparatory drawings for the 56 inlaid marble panels were designed by important painters and sculptors, almost all Sienese, including Sassetta, Domenica di Bartolo, Matteo di Giovanni, and Domenico Beccafumi. Only one scene was created by an artist coming from outside of Siena, the Umbrian Pintoricchio, who created the fourth panel in the central nave. Excluding the areas executed in mosaic, the artists created their panels using the graffito and marble intarsia techniques. Intarsia required the use and combination of large sheets of marble of varying colors, all coming from the surrounding Sienese territory. In the central nave and the two side aisles, the iconographic path winds through themes related to classical and pagan antiquity, with representations of sages, philosophers, and sibyls. The first figure that we come across at the beginning of the central nave is the Egyptian legislator, Hermes Trismegistus. The panel was designed in 1488 by the sculptor Giovanni di Stefano, son of the painter Stefano di Giovanni, Sassette. Hermes, nicknamed Trismegistus, the three-time great, is remembered as the founder of human wisdom. An inscription to his right in the marble panel explains that Hermes foresaw the fundamental mystery of Christianity, that is, the birth of the Son of God. The iconographic program combines Hermes Trismegistus together with the Sibyls, represented in the two aisles, which is based on the fourth book of the Divine Institutes by the Christian author Lactantius. Passing from Hermes' panel to the depiction of the Sibyls, it is not hard to recognize in the priestess's prophecies a precise Christological iconography that represents the introduction of an iconographic path toward the altar. There are 10 Sibyls, executed between 1482 and 1483, 5 for each aisle. Their names derive from their respective geographical locations: the Persian Sibyl, the Hellespotine Sibyl, the Erythraean Sibyl, the Samian Sibyl, and the Delphic Sibyl from the Eastern and Greek worlds, the Libyan Sibyl from Africa, and the Cumaean Sibyl, the Cremarian Sibyl, and the Turbitine Sibyl from the West, Italy in particular. Moving away from the panel of Hermes along the central nave, you come to the she-wolf nursing the twin brothers, a copy by Leopoldo Maccari in 1865. Only a few fragments of the original panel, dating back to about 1373, remain today and can be seen in the Museo dell'Opera. This panel, the only one to be created in mosaic rather than marble intarsia, is probably the oldest, precisely for its differing technique. The she-wolf has been the symbol of Siena as far back as the Middle Ages. According to legend, Siena would be founded by Remus's sons, Ascius and Senius, who were forced to escape from Rome after the death of their father. The she-wolf is inside a circle, tondo, which is connected to 8 smaller circles that illustrate the emblems of Siena's allies. The 4th marble panel in the central nave, designed by Pinturchio between 1505 and 1506, is certainly one of the richest and most vivid for the different types of marble used. It depicts an allegory inspired by ancient philosophical thought and the principles of humanism. In the lower right is the personification of Fortune, a nude maiden holding a cornucopia in her right hand, and raising high above her with her left hand a sail being swept in the wind like a banner. Her balance is unstable. Her right foot rests atop a sphere, while her left foot stands on an unmanned boat, whose mast is broken. After a turbulent voyage, Fortune is able to bring several sages safely to shore on a rocky island. The sages make their way uphill along a path filled with dangers. Atop the mountain the sages are attempting to climb sits the figure that symbolizes wisdom or virtue. With her left hand, she offers a book to Crates of Thebes, who frees himself of all material goods by throwing a basket of chains, precious stones, and rings into the sea. And with her right hand, she gifts a palm to Socrates, the most enlightened of all the philosophers. The message of the allegory indicates that the path towards wisdom is arduous, but once the difficulties are overcome, you achieve serenity, symbolized by the plateau covered only by blossoming bushes and declared in the inscription inviting one to climb the rugged hill. Renouncing worldly possessions is the theme of the last intarsia of the central nave, completed in the 19th century after the 14th century original. A king sits on his throne atop the clockwise turning wheel, holding a scepter and a sphere. Around him, in positions that correspond to the other 3 cardinal directions, 3 men grasp the wheel, their hair and clothes blowing in the wind. In the corners, 4 ancient philosophers, Epictetus, Aristotle, Euripides, and Seneca, appear inside hexagons, each one holding a speech scroll, a phylactery, containing condemnations of riches. Underneath the magnificent dome is one of the most important spaces in the cathedral. In fact, the high altar was originally placed here, but was moved back in the 14th century. In the early 16th century, when the floor was renovated, the area under the dome was halfway between the space reserved for the altar and the space dedicated for the public. The pavement is divided in 7 equal hexagons, one in the center, surrounded by the other 6. This arrangement forms a larger hexagon, with rhomboids filling the 6 corners. As such, the space is divided into 13 marble inlaid panels, all depicting the stories of Elijah and Ahab, a rare theme from an iconographic point of view, but inspired by a known biblical text, the first book of Kings, which was, in some cases, the subject of a reading from the breviary during canonical hours. Domenico Beccafumi, one of the most innovative masters of Italian mannerism, started work on the cartoons for this part of the floor in 1519, which he would work on and off for the rest of his life. Beccafumi, with the help of his pupil Giovanni Battista Sozzini, made the designs for 4 hexagons and 2 rhomboids. The remaining 3 hexagons and 4 rhomboids were executed by Alessandro Franchi in the 19th century, when he was asked to complete the cycle. To the right of the pulpit is one of the more fascinating parts of the marble floor. It was designed by Beccafumi, who had by then perfected the intarsia technique, achieving a chiaroscuro effect masterfully obtained through the arrangement of single-colored marble of various gradations. A long frieze, with Moses making water spring from the rock, is situated between two of the dome's pillars, toward the presbytery, and dates to Becafumi's second cycle of work on the floor in the 1520s. In 1531, Beccafumi began his third cycle of work on the floor with an expansive rectangular intarsia whose theme comes from Exodus. The composition consists of overlapping registries. Above, in the center, on a rock that symbolizes Mount Sinai, Moses receives the 10 Commandments from God through an opening in the sky. On the left of the panel, the Israelites ask Aaron for a new god in Moses' absence. To satisfy their request, Aaron agrees to create a false idol. On the lower register, to the left, is the image of jewelry being poured into the fire and taking the form of the golden calf, positioned on an altar. In the center, the majestic figures of Moses breaking the stone tablets dominates the scene. In the upper right, the narration concludes, the Jews are punished for their idolatry. Beccafumi also designed the marble inlay that unfolds before the altar, depicting the sacrifice of Isaac, completed in 1546. As described in Genesis, the Lord tests Abraham's faith by ordering him to sacrifice his son Isaac upon a mountain. Abraham readily obeys the Lord's orders. He builds an altar and arranges a pile of wood atop, placing his son on it, prepared to make the sacrifice. Abraham takes the knife and raises it above his son. But at the last moment, the angel of the Lord calls to him from above, stopping him. In the left transept of the temple, you find one of the most admired floor panels, thanks to its variety of polychrome marbles, the Massacre of the Innocents, made by Matteo di Giovanni in 1482. The scene comes from the Gospel of Matthew and depicts the tragic slaughter of the children of Bethlehem, as ordered by Herod. In certain aspects, the marble panel reflected current events. In 1480, while Duke Alfonso of Calabria was in Siena, the Turks, who had landed in Otranto, perpetrated a bloody massacre against the bishop, the clergy, and 800 citizens, all beheaded for not having renounced their Christian faith.